I'm John Batchelor, Thaddeus McCotter, WJR, the great voice of the Great Lakes, and we welcome Sarah Westwood, an investigative reporter for the Washington Examiner, who is very helpfully going through as fast as she can the latest release from the State Department of the emails associated with Mrs. Clinton's time in the State Department 2009 to 2013. The release tonight has some big numbers. There's a lot to go through. We'll talk about what it is we're looking for and what we do not expect to find. Sarah, a very good evening to you. I'll start with the numbers. The last time we spoke, the last time the State Department released these emails, they're going over very carefully, they're filtering, they're vetting, they're redacting, and then they release to the public. You noted that they were not releasing the numbers promised. There was a shortfall. What do we know about this time? Are they releasing everything they promised? Have they caught up in their plans? Good evening to you.
Good evening. They had fallen short of a court-ordered benchmark at the end of July. They only published 2,000 pages of Hillary Clinton's emails. It was almost half of what they were supposed to publish, and they blamed the delays on the fact that there was classified information in the emails that they had to figure out how to deal with. Now they are playing catch-up, and they've actually published more this month than they have in the past 3 months combined by putting 7,000 pages of emails online.
Thaddeus?
What is their excuse for the delay, and how do you expect them to comply, and when?
Their excuse for the delay in the previous month was that now, at the recommendation of the Intelligence Community Inspector General, they had to have representatives from each of the 5 intelligence agencies physically sit in the room with State Department officials while they went through each email line by line to figure out what was classified and what wasn't. Because keep in mind, the State Department doesn't actually have the authority to determine everything that's classified, right? That information belongs to agencies like the CIA and the NSA, and they're supposed to make the final call. So now that you have 2 sets of eyes running over every email, it really slows the process down.
Let's go to what we've seen so far, Sarah. There's one in particular you and I have discussed. NPR Politics has it up right now. This is a document from Mrs. Clinton as Secretary of State, one of her addresses. This is HROD 17. There were several. She sent this to Cheryl Mills, I believe, which was one of her trusted lieutenants at the State Department. And the subject is Haiti. This is following the catastrophic earthquake in Haiti in 2010. I read the document. Great ideas, says Mrs. Clinton, no surprise. Let's work towards solid proposal, maybe to Red Cross and Clinton Foundation, since they have unencumbered dollars. Sarah, interpret this for me. What are we looking at? What's significant about it?
Well, as we know from a lot of reporting about what went on in Haiti, there was a significant amount of what a lot of people considered pay-for-play going on in that country, especially involving the Clinton Foundation. I mean, we even know Hillary Clinton's brother was involved in potentially getting a millions of dollar contract to rebuild houses. So there was a lot of this sort of thing going on, just a lot of money pouring into Haiti after the earthquake. And the Clinton Foundation was a major player in that. And now we're seeing Hillary Clinton was perhaps personally involved in orchestrating the Clinton Foundation's response to the Haiti earthquake. That is obviously a major conflict of interest when you're thinking that the donors to that foundation obviously had issues on her desk at the time.
So what we're seeing, and this is unclassified, what we're seeing is an indication that Mrs. Clinton did not make a distinction between Clinton Foundation prosperity and her work at the State Department. Is that one? I'm trying to put it diplomatically, Sarah.
That's a great way to put it diplomatically. That's a problem, obviously, for a lot of reasons. And some people have floated that as one of the reasons why this private server exists in the first place, that there was thing that was going on in the way she conducted her business that she did not want privy to the Freedom of Information Act, so it was hosted on an off-ground server. That's perhaps one reason why that has become a theory of critics, is that she was heavily involved in the Clinton Foundation. With every email release, we're seeing more and more evidence that that was, in fact, the case.
Thaddeus?
Sarah, I just want to wrap my mind around this one more time. So in the wake of the devastation and the human suffering that occurred in Haiti, it was the goal of the Clintons to figure out how to utilize their foundation to benefit themselves.
That's one way of putting it. There was a lot of projects orchestrated by the Clinton Foundation that did not deliver as promised. For example, there's a very famous industrial park that was built in North Haiti called the Caracol Industrial Park. Hillary Clinton herself cut the ribbon to that park, and celebrities came to its opening. Sean Penn was there. And then years later, if you go back to that industrial park, it's sitting empty, collecting cobwebs. It took millions and millions of dollars, including taxpayer funding and Clinton Foundation donor funding, and really it was just built almost for the cameras, and it never became of anything. And that's sort of a story you see repeated over and over again in the earthquake response in Haiti.
I have an email here, Sarah, and I think we know this already. I just wanted to determine it on this email. The summary of this is that 5 days after getting a new iPad, Mrs. Clinton tests it out while on a flight. This confirms testing in-flight communications from her iPad. This is dated July 1st, 2010. Sent from my iPad, which everybody who has an iPad knows that Apple has arranged it so that the little machine announces itself very proudly, like I am the kitten that you don't know about. So we had already established that Mrs. Clinton used 2 devices at least. Is that correct, Sarah?
We know she used a BlackBerry and an iPad.
And the iPad only is important because heretofore there had been moments when she said it was just BlackBerry. So the iPad was also used, and that was a device that was also outside of normal controls for snooping, right? There was no security in that iPad to our knowledge.
To our knowledge, right. And that distinction, the fact that she used more than one device, is hugely, hugely important, because her initial defense of this arrangement, and her defense ever since, has been, I did this out of convenience so I could carry one device. That's obviously not true. We know she carried at least 2 devices, and the question becomes, if that wasn't the reason why you set this private server up, then what was? Because it clearly wasn't as innocent as just carrying one mobile device.
Sarah Westwood, investigative reporter at the Washington Examiner. I thank her for coming on very quickly. She's a working reporter. These emails have just arrived on everyone's desks. Thaddeus McCotter, WJR, the great voice of the Great Lakes. I'm John Batchelor.